I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were opened.
Isaiah 11. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. And the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and of the fear of the Lord, and shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of the Lord. And he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither reprove after the hearing of his ears. But with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove with equity for the meek of the earth. And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. And righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf, and the young lion, and the fatling together. And the little child shall lead them, and the cow and the bear shall feed. Their young ones shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox, and the sucking child shall play on the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put his hand on the cockatrice's den. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS, who rule well, teach well, being great examples for young brothers, and peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners, whom have came back to the obedience of the scripture through faith in Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. All right, and what I want to get into today, with this this evening with this morning news and prophecy, is dealing with imposter ICE agents, and it's the spirit, because the beloved, elder brother, Amawan Labar, all right, out of the main camp, all right, in New York, and he made a point, about 2 weeks ago. I think he did his video. It was exactly 13 days ago. Okay, 2 weeks ago. And he spoke about, him speculating that a lot of these ICE agents are imposters. Okay, and now, the reports have confirmed, that a lot of them are. Okay, and we're in the time, to be more circumspect than ever. Know what's going on, keeping up with, the happenings, and it's different, for different, believers in different cities, because, some cities are dealing with ICE, some cities not, some states not, and, just a lot going on. All right. And this is why the Lord, appointed us, to be watchmen. You have several watchmen because it's impossible for, one person to keep up, with all that's going on. Okay. So I want to go into some things and just show, what's happening, and just making sure that, we, continue to be, prayed up, doubling down in righteousness, to the best of our ability, staying out the way, okay, and just having a mindset, towards deliverance, man, you know, and just having confidence in our power in these times, because there's no way to practically prepare, for all the things that's happening, man. We just gonna have to be covered, so on our end, we can stay obedient, be circumspect, have faith, stay prayed up, you know, you know, move in wisdom in these times, and let the Lord, do what He gonna do, because we're in the time of judgment. So that's why you read here. Let's get a few precepts, and then we'll get, to these few videos. I got this Ecclesiastes 8:5. It said, "Whoso keepeth the commandment shall feel no evil thing, and a wise man's heart discerning both time and judgment." Okay, so it said, "Whoso keepeth the commandment shall feel no evil thing." And we know that we're not being judged on keeping the whole law. All right, but Yahweh Shai, left us instructions, to love the Most High with all our heart, treat thy neighbor as thyself, love thy neighbor as thyself. Okay, feed the sheep, and go out to the highways and byways, so we have our marching orders. Okay, and also, be faithful unto death. Okay, which means, hey, do not take the MOTB. You see, even at the at the possibility of death, So we've been given, our marching orders, it's a, a format, you know, for us to be obedient, you see, because loving the Father, all right, going back to whoso keepeth the commandments shall feel no evil thing, because obedience and faith, keeps us within the hedge. You see, it's when we operate outside obedience and faith, okay, that's when we become vulnerable. You see, but as long as we're, operating within obedience, faith, to the best of our ability, man, we are within the hedge. Okay, and it says a wise man's heart discerning both time and judgment, understanding the times that we in, man. Okay, we have to understand that these things are getting real. Okay, prophecy is showing up the people front door. Judgment is here. Okay, and what we're going to see is just continually increase until the worst time ever. All right, where it's at now, it's going to continue to increase until we're in the worst time that the earth has ever seen. Okay, and we have to know that these are times that we're in. People are finna get desperate. People are hurting. Money is scarce. People are being priced out of living. Esau playing with the government assistance. With this whole ICE thing is giving people, a chance to, to purge and, be wicked. And you see, this is the time we in. Esau's getting ready to roll out, these new systems, and, out with the old, in with the new. So we in the transition. Okay, order out of chaos. Like, these are the times we're in. So a wise man, which true wisdom is of the scriptures. So as we're becoming wise in the scriptures, we can discern the time that we're in judgment. Okay, so obedience and faith, okay, keeps us within the hedge, man. Okay, and being watchful, because Yahweh Shai. Okay, even another commandment of Yahweh Shai. Okay, because if you apply, loving the Most High, which what what was one of the main laws that they got us? Okay, what was one of our main offenses that put us in captivity? Was idolatry. Well, if we love the Most High with all our heart, mind, and soul, we're not going to be into idolatry. We're going to be faithful to our power. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Well, there's certain of those commandments that if you love your neighbor as yourself, you're going to keep. Okay? Feed my sheep, be occupied, in the ministry, every brother according to their office. Okay? And then you say, go here. Let's go to another commandment. This is Matthew 26. Okay, and let's get 41. It says this Matthew 26 and 41. It says, watch and pray that ye enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. So we're commanded to watch. Because we're watching for the coming of Yahushua. All right, and we understand that there's a build up to that coming. You see, there's certain events that will lead to that coming, and we watch these events. Okay, as it's leading up to Yahushua. Okay, so we're learning, we're becoming wise in this truth, which gives us discernment to know what time we're in. Okay, and that's why you go here. Okay, and you go here to let's get this second Esdras in the GNT. He says, and he answered, the second Esdras 9 and 1 in the GNT. He answered, consider all these things very carefully. When you see that some of the signs I have told you, all right, about have appeared, so we've been given the signs to watch for. Wars and rumors of wars, the love of many waxing cold. Okay, pestilence, earthquakes. We've been given these signs. Okay, and when you keep reading, so you will see. He said you will know that the time has come. All right, when the Most High will bring judgment on the world He has created. So we're in the time of judgment, just by what we're seeing, the signs that we're seeing. Okay, and it goes on to go into some of these things. In verse 3, it said there will be earthquakes, all right, national rebellions, international intrigues, unstable leaders, and confused rulers. When you see these things happening, okay, you will know, all right, that they are what the Most High has spoken about since the beginning of creation. Okay, so we're seeing all these things happen in real time, and rebellion is being stirred up. Okay, unstable leaders, confused rulers. Okay, this is the reality of the times that we're in. Okay, and this is when the Lord will begin to visit, okay, creation. He's going to visit this place through judgment, leading up to the appearing of Yahushua, which that's the peak of judgment. Yahushua is the peak of judgment. Okay, so we have, these things going on. All right, and I want to get this, and then we'll get into these videos. Let's get this real quick. Okay, it's the book of Sirach, chapter 5 and verse 15. It says, be not ignorant, okay, of anything in a great matter or a small, and this goes into being diligent, man. Know what's going on around us, know what's happening, in your state, in your town, in your city, what peeping the atmosphere, man, knowing how to move, man, according to wisdom. You see, because we're coming in these times, we in these times. Okay, so I want to go here first. I want to show the video, all right, that the beloved, elder brother I'm one Gabar did. All right, let's see. So let's go here. Now this lesson was posted, let's see, 2 weeks ago. Okay, so I want to deal here I want to go to the beginning. All right. Like I said, this is from the beloved brother, Elder Humble One Gabar. His channel, GMS Awakening 144. Subscribe, and be edified. Now I'm going to play this and I'm going to jump and then I'm going to show you what's happening now today. Okay. So this was 2 weeks ago.
Hey, can I help you?
Hey, yeah, no, I'm just out here. I live in the community. I'm trying to see what you guys are doing. I do have ID. Who are you guys with?
Is there a reason why you're impeding this investigation?
I'm not impeding. I was just driving, and I'm parked right there. I live in the neighborhood.
Everybody honking the horn?
Yeah, we're letting people know because people are going through intersections. So I'm out here at 23rd and Lombard right now. Do you guys have any identification on you?
Yeah, you see it. It's on our vest.
Do you guys have a badge number or a name?
No, you don't need all that.
I don't need. Why don't I need any of that?
You have ID on you?
Do you guys need my ID? What's the reason for stopping me?
What's the reason for following us honking your horn?
You guys are going through a neighborhood and you guys are stopping people on the street with no reason.
Well, I suggest you stop following us, all right? Otherwise, we're going to arrest you for impeding your order.
I'm not impeding anything.
We're letting you know it's the first warning and last warning.
Okay.
You got that?
What are your guys' names?
This right here.
Do you guys have a name for?
This is the name. 306. Stop following us. Next time, it's not going to be a warning. You got it?
I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not breaking any laws right here. It doesn't.
So you had, those ICE agents not identifying themselves. They're allowed to wear masks. Okay. Not to show any badges. Okay. Not to give names. Okay. But they're able to stop, pull people over, And now you have reports of a kidnapping, which we're going to get it. But the brother, the spirit had him speak on these things. Okay. And at camp a few weeks ago. So let's play this.
Yeah. It says, "He that builds house upon a rock, and the rain descended, and the floods came." Right, the rain descended, the floods came, which all causes a what? A storm. It all causes a storm. So when the rain comes, the storm, or the flood, the water descended. That represents Edom coming with wrath, as he's doing now. He's starting to do it now. Them icy agents out there, they out there kicking ass. They walking up to anybody with, I was thinking about it, This is how fucked up it is. Man, hey, see? We was always talking about the purge is coming. The purge is here. The reason why I say that is because I believe a good fraction of those people are not even ice agents. I could go on Amazon and eBay and buy a fucking shirt that says ice. I did it. I went on Amazon, I ain't buy it. I went on Amazon, I typed in ice uniform and shit. I seen ice hats, ice t-shirts, ice you can just get a mask from anywhere. You can get a utility belt. Right. Bro, anybody could do that and walk around like this. They walk around like, I walk around like, I'm telling you, bro. See, if I was, fucking Valiant in the world, I would have tried that. The old me would have tried that. I'm telling you. We walked around like, with a mask on, with the fucking them on Walmart sunglasses that reflect, you can't see the eyes, just fluorescent. That's like a game. So I'm telling you, bro, some of these are regular people. Some of these gotta be regular people testing the fucking waters, yo. You know what I mean? I'll fuck around. I'm telling you, the old me, the father me would have been like, yo, you come in. Well, they just read a Canal Street too.
So the brother, in the spirit, he was speculating in the spirit, and the spirit has confirmed it. Okay. A few weeks later, all right, the spirit confirms it. Okay, when you go here, so let's get this from let's go here. All right, so this is this report from the Jimmy Dore show. So let's listen to this. This was going on. All right, 2 weeks later, this is the reports that's coming out.
Agents still identify themselves while masked. When DHS has argued that agents still identify themselves while masked. when our heroic law enforcement officers conduct operations, they clearly identify themselves as law enforcement while wearing masks to protect themselves from being targeted by highly sophisticated gangs like Tren de Agua and MS-13 criminal rings. Okay, they've always had criminal rings. They've always had the mafia. They've always had gangs in the United States. They've always had the Crips and the Bloods. They've always had criminal gangs. They've never worn masks. Hey, I'm here with Nick Cruz from the Revolutionary Blackout Network, and I've talked about this in the past where you see ICE agents dressed like this with masks on, and often they don't have their name. That's unusual for them to have their name. They don't, so they'll show up with a face mask on, no badge, no nothing. And I always said, well, this would be perfect if you're a criminal. You could just put a mask on, say you're ICE, and then start kidnapping people. You could commit all kinds of crimes. Well, it turns out that's actually happening. I said this. You can't have cops, and they're saying, well, they're going to dox those cops. Hey, there's been cops in the United States for 400 years. They've always had to wear their name tag. They always had to have a badge number, and they also always had to show their face. Somehow they made it. But all of a sudden, in 2025, cops have to start covering their face because they're afraid of being doxxed. Well, then quit. Because you don't get to police the United States in a mask undercover, and we don't know who you are. And why? Because the FBI warns of criminals posing as ICE. That's what they're doing. Urges agents to ID themselves. Really, the FBI is telling the ICE to ID. Criminals posing as U.S. immigration officers have carried out robberies, kidnappings, sexual assaults in several states, warns the enforcement bulletin issued last month by the FBI. The Bureau urges agencies to ensure officers clearly identify themselves and to cooperate when civilians ask to verify an officer's identity, including by allowing calls to local police precinct. Ensure law enforcement personnel adequately identify themselves during operations and cooperate with individuals who request further verification. That's what the FBI is saying. The bulletin cites 5 2025 incidents involving fake immigration officers and says criminals are using immigration and customs enforcement's heightened profile to target vulnerable communities, making it harder for Americans to distinguish between lawful officers and imposters while eroding trust in law enforcement. I said this. This is what we've been saying since day one. A review of public reporting confirms 4 or 5 cases described in the bulletin. One appears to have gone unreported, suggesting the FBI drew in part on internal law enforcement information. On August 7th, according to the FBI, 3 men in black vests entered a New York restaurant claiming to be ICE agents. Inside, they tied workers' hands and pulled a garbage bag over the person's head. Another, believing the burglar's story, surrendered themselves, only to be kicked to the ground and tied up as the intruders robbed their ATM. The Bureau's advisory urges agencies at every level of government to coordinate to verify legitimate versus non-legitimate operations attributed to ICE, a call that frames the wave of impersonations as a national law enforcement concern. The FBI has declined comment. Its national press office said that it could only respond to media inquiries involving national security, violations of federal law, or essential public safety functions during the government shutdown. Cases cited by its advisory span kidnappings, street crime, sexual violence. In Florida, the advisor says a woman unzipped her jacket and revealed a shirt that said ICE and told her ex-boyfriend's wife she was there to pick her up before driving her to an apartment complex. The woman later escaped. In Brooklyn, it alleges a man told a woman he was an immigration officer and directed her to a nearby stairwell where he punched her, tried to rape her, and stole her phone before police caught him. In Raleigh, North Carolina, a man entered a motel room and threatened to deport a woman if she did not have sex with him, telling her he was a sworn officer. He showed her a business card with a badge. The FBI describes a few signs of impersonation: forged or mismatched credentials, outdated protective gear, and clone vehicle markings. It's urging agencies to launch outreach programs aimed at identifying fake ICE agents, a step the FBI argues could counteract the mistrust caused by impersonators and strengthen law enforcement's image. Federal rules require immigration officers to identify themselves and state the reason for the arrest as soon as it is practical and safe to do so. The standard has not changed since it was codified in the 90s, yet advocates say it is increasingly ignored. The recent increased presence of armed masked federal officers completely disrupts and erodes public trust in law enforcement, said a Texas Civil Rights Project. Further, the increase in local cooperation with federal authorities through 287 agreements has led to chilling effect on local law enforcement for communities, referring to a program that deputizes local police to act as immigration agents. When masked federal agents conceal their identity and authority as a practice, anyone can don a mask and a gun and not be expected or required to verify their authority. The growing use of such unmarked officers has raised questions for months about accountability and transparency in federal policing. However, the Trump administration frames ICE mask use as an officer safety measure, best left to the discretion of its field officers. At a recent press briefing, Department of Homeland Security Kristi Noem said they wear masks at times to protect their identities from dangerous situations. The leadership teams, we leave that up to them. So that's not okay. Cops don't get to decide whether they want to wear a mask and act like a criminal. They don't get to do. If you're a cop, you got to show your face, you got to show your badge and your name. That's what you get. That's what you have to do to be a cop. DHS has argued that agents still identify themselves while masked. When our heroic law enforcement officers conduct operations, they clearly identify themselves as law enforcement while wearing masks to protect themselves from being targeted by highly sophisticated gangs like Tren de Agua and MS-13 criminal rings. Okay, they've always had criminal rings. They've always had the mafia. They've always had gangs in the United States. They've always had the Crips and the Bloods. They've always had criminal gangs. They've never worn masks. So this is all bullshit. ICE acting director Todd Lyons echoed the safety rationale, telling Face the Nation this summer that while he's not proponent of masks, he would allow them if that's a tool that the men and women of ICE choose to use to protect themselves and their F off. Critics say the policy blurs the line between lawful arrest and military-style force. They argue that officers who hide their faces and affiliation weaken public confidence and make it harder to tell a legitimate operation from violent criminals. The Boston Regional Intelligence Center issued a public advisory last December, which Wired obtained via public record request, warning of a potential increase in scams related to news about the mass deportations from the incoming administration. The notice references an incident from Trump's first term in which 4 men in ICE apparel reportedly robbed a man on the street in Queens, demanding he pay money to avoid arrest. Scammers know the immigration process is complicated and will use confusion along with fear to take advantage of victims. That's what it said in the bulletin. In September, according to documents obtained via public record request, the Boston police. Okay, we already did this. Okay. The FBI says ICE's enhanced public profile and the media's coverage around it offers criminals the perfect pretext to prey on vulnerable communities. Legal experts say that images of militarized mass enforcement are not just being copied by criminals, but encouraged by policy itself. All right, so you get it. All right, you get it. You get it.
And they're allowing these things to be so. Because that's what they want. They want purge atmosphere. Okay? And they're allowing these things to be so. You see? So just as, the brother was speculating in the spirit, and here you have it. You have incidents of, people, all right, being kidnapped, women, attempting to be being raped. Okay? People being, scammed out of money. Okay. And I have another video, but it just confirms that, Esau is allowing these things to be so. Okay. Because you don't hear any uproar about this. Okay. In mainstream. Okay. So, and these things are going to increase. Okay. You're going to have, as people finding out that you can get away with this is going to increase. Okay. And they're being laxed about it, on purpose, man. They're allowing these things because they want a purge type atmosphere. They want it chaotic. Okay, let's go here. All right, especially when it comes to preying on, when they say the vulnerable, they talking about Jake neighborhoods, man. Okay, that's mainly what they're speaking of, Northern and Southern Kingdom. You see, now listen to this. All right, this was, about a week ago. Well, let's listen to this.
People in my neighborhood are being kidnapped by what they think are ICE agents. Maybe they are ICE agents. And hours later, they're getting phone calls demanding $20,000 or $30,000 in cash as ransom to have their loved ones released. I'm going to say it again, okay? Masked men who refuse to identify themselves, who refuse to show badges, are showing up to people's work vehicles, to their churches, to their student drop-off lines. They are wearing tactical vests. They are pointing guns at people's faces, covering their faces, breaking windows, and dragging these people out of the car. And when we call 911, you know what 911 says? They say tough shit. They say, we don't give a fuck. They say, we can't do anything about it. And you say, how do I know these are ICE agents? How do you know these are ICE agents? And they say, oh, we get a report at the end of the day. Sometimes they tell us what they're doing, and we just basically trust that they are ICE agents. And then I get calls from families who say that their loved ones were detained by these masked men who refuse to identify themselves with guns and tactical gear, who rip them out of their vehicles. And then they get a phone call 6 hours later saying, send us $30,000 cash, send us $20,000 cash, and we will release your loved ones. What? What the fuck? What are we doing? What the fuck? These are kidnappers. These are men kidnapping our neighbors, and the police are doing nothing.
And this is the reality that America is going into, because America has stirred up so much civil unrest, in these other countries, and now it's coming back here. All right. And the people that the Lord is allowing this to happen to, well, this is judgment, and this is why it pays, all right, to be within that hedge of Yahweh Shema Shah. This is why the Lord awakened us, to obedience in this grace period, so we can be hedged in these times. Okay. Because remember, this judgment is for them, this proud American society. The Lord is going to bring suffering, man. All right. And these things are going to increase. Okay. So as we know and understand these things, all right, we should be more in tune, okay, with the hedge, with Yahweh Shema Shai. We have to constantly, we have to pray more, hey, we have to, isolate more, okay, be strategic. Like I said, always go into it, man. Be strategic how you move, know what the hell is going on. Okay, this ain't the time, all right, the heads be in the clouds and you ain't got no awareness. You just out, and be mindful. All right. Ephesians 5:15 says, see then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, man. And this is why we've been given, the heads up with prophecy, man. Okay. So we can understand how to be, it's getting to be a crazy world. Okay. So we have to, make pivots and move differently, man. We can't move, like 2023, it's different now. Prophecy continues to, go to another phase, and we have to pivot, to another type of, conduct, another way of being, and I say it's different, for everybody's situation. That's why, we all have to know what's going on and where. Okay. Ephesians 5:16 says, redeeming the time because the days are evil. Okay. These are some evil times. Okay. And as we look and see what's going on, we see, okay, these times are evil, man. It's getting grimy out here, man. Okay. It's getting grimy out here, man. All right. Desperation is starting to kick in, and the government, all right, the American government, All right. They want to entice this type of behavior. They want to entice unrest. Okay. This is what they're all about. Okay. Because they have an agenda. Okay. Order out of chaos where they have to bring the chaos. Okay. So they want this lawless environment. Okay. So they can bring in, okay, law through technocracy. You know, they want to sabotage everything about this old way. Okay. From the government to law enforcement to, you know, to security. You see, all these things would justify some type of what digital ID. These ICE officers, these ICE agents not having to ID themselves. Well, this would, okay, uh, uh, give them leverage to say, now this is why we need digital ID. Okay, which is ultimately going to lead to the C-HIP. Okay, so the devil is at work, man. These things that are happening, it's not random, and they're not just incompetent and don't know what's going on. No, these things are happening intentionally, man. Okay, it said, wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is. Okay, understanding the will of Yahweh Shemal Shai. See, we've been awakened, you know, to what's pleasing to our power. Okay, so this is time to be tapped in more and more to what's pleasing to our power, man. You know, and staying out the way as much as possible, man. Okay, this world is gonna go into chaos, man. Okay, so let's go here. Get this in Psalms. All right, because you know this is our comfort. You know, we read about these things and see these things unfolding. Well, we have a comfort to go to. Okay, in these times. Okay, this is the book of Psalm chapter 91. All right, in verse all right, this is Psalm 91:5. It says, "Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor the arrow, okay, that fly by day." You see, and this is even going into the missiles, man. So the Lord, you know, as the trouble, as tribulation increase, you know, the Lord's going to increase a spirit on His believers, man, to endure these times. You know, we have to have faith in it. You know, so we coming into some times of tribulation, man. Okay, it said, "Nor the pestilence that walketh, okay, in darkness." You know, certain pestilence. See, we haven't even seen the pestilence yet, and it's gonna be some real pestilence, right? It's gonna be dropping people. It's gonna you know, it's gonna be catching bodies, man. Nor for the destruction that wasted at noonday, going back to the nukes, man. So from the time of tribulation leading up to the nukes, okay, the Lord's gonna put a spirit on us, okay, to endure, man, to be confident, to have courage in these times, man. You know, something I'm praying for more and more, man, just to have the courage in these times, man. We finna see some things, man. Okay, what neighborhood you think you come from, or you know how thorough you know you think you might be, man. We need the spirit of courage in these times, because we finna see things that we didn't know could be done. You know, it says 1,000 shall fall at thy side and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh unto thee, man. You know, so we're going to be hedged. You see, you have to know that we're going to be hedged, but we have to stay, all right, obedient and faithful. You know, and we have to, you know, be on our watch, okay, and knowing how to move. Okay, it says, "Only with thine eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward, okay, of the wicked, because thou hast made the Lord Yahweh Bashem Al Shah, which is my refuge, all right, even the Most High, thy habitation." Okay, so we have made, you know, the Lord our refuge through what? Through faith and obedience. Okay, sacrifice, discipline, staying out the way, drawing close to our power. This is our refuge. This is our dwelling. You know, So we made the Most High thy habitation. We rest in this word and the truth. We rest in this, man. We dwell in this. You see, this is our everything now. Okay. And by doing that now, okay, during this grace period when most of the world is doing what the hell they want to do, the Lord's going to honor that, man. You know, that's why I say, ye that kept my word, okay, he's going to keep us in the hour of temptation. Because we kept his word of patience, he's going to keep us, man. You know, that's why the grace period is for us to tap in, man, to be in good standards with our power, man. We want a good report in the heavens going into these times, man. Okay, verse 10 said, there shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh, all right, thy dwelling. You know, so the Lord God is set up, all right, well, this judgment is for them. And as we see judgment increase, man, you know, we should continue to try to draw back from this place more and more. Okay, we in these times, all right, but the Lord promising, and we read these things, and this is comfort. No matter what bad news is out there, and we look at it and we report on it, but then we have precepts of comfort, okay, that soothe our spirit for these times. Okay, it says, for he shall give his angels charge over thee, man. You know, and as things get worse, it's going to increase to the time where, you know, miracles going to have to be activated, power going to have to be activated, man. Okay, to keep thee in all thy ways, man. So the Lord not going to leave us out here sitting ducks, you know, in the worst time ever. Okay, he's gonna, all right, intervene. You know, we're gonna be tried, we're gonna be tested. Okay, and there's gonna come a point where the Lord is gonna begin, you know, to intervene. You see, so that was the point. You know, just want to go into that Lord will. All right, you brothers, you know, and you sisters edified once again. Want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers, and peace and blessings salutations to the hopeful. Shalom.